Hi everyone! By now, most of you have seen Niss Cee Social video on this change on how we see the Charlie Kirk case, in which she laid out claims on why the suspect shooter allegedly, let's get that in there, why the alleged Charlie Kirk shooter shouldn't be the one who should be charged for the crime. So she is claiming in this video that the alleged shooter is not the one or wasn't the one who carried out the crime and inference to other suspects. So in this video, we're gonna look at her claim or claims, if there is any possible holes we can find in it, to see if some of those claims or assertions can hold water or they will fall apart if the center cannot hold. So let's get into it.
Tonight we're going to rewind the clock and start the story where it probably should have began in the first place. Kirk case in a way that I haven't seen be covered by any other YouTube channel.
Let's see if she can find any grounds that Candace Owens hasn't covered as yet.
I, like many of you watching, have been looking into this case for months now. I've been looking at the directors for all the TPUSA entities, looking at his in-laws, his now widowed wife, Crazy Eyes. I have looked at this from so many different angles. Was this done because people were caught stealing money from
Speaking of Candace, there she is.
TPUSA? Was he taken out so that a new TPUSA CEO could be installed? Was this about a lucrative insurance policy? Or was it really just some cross-eyed furry kid who, despite being cross-eyed, has impeccable aim?
Your powers of observation continue to serve.
The cross-eyed kid with impeccable aim. That means that would be not normal for someone with cross-eyed to have take that shot. So let's put it to the test. First, we're going to pull up a peer review article. Peer-reviewed studies and expert analyses indicated that cross-eye dominance, also known as crossed hand eye dominance, can affect marksmanship learning rates, but it does not prevent high-level performance if specialized techniques are used. What type of techniques are they referring to? Let's have a look at some of these techniques. Some common shooting adjustments. Shooters with this condition use several proven methods to improve accuracy. These include, they have handguns here, but the alleged shooter in the Charlie Kirk incident used a rifle. So we're gonna skip down to the rifles and shotguns. So the adjustment would be to switch shoulders. Learn to shoot from the shoulder. That matches your dominant eye. For example, if you are right-handed but left eye dominant, you would shoulder the rifle from your left side, close one eye. If you can't switch shoulders, closing the dominant eye forces your non-dominant eye to focus on the sight. Let's hear from another expert.
So there's a tremendous amount of misinformation about cross dominance, and the fact is you can shoot with your dominant eye or your non-dominant eye.
Misinformation when it comes to cross-eye shooting. I was going to say it, but I will let Niss Cee Social say it for me.
I will leave that for you to decide.
If the cross-eye kid could have done it.
We all know that Charlie was a proud and devout Christian, and as a Christian and as a conservative, he often stood on the side of the place where Jesus was born.
Jesus was born in Bethlehem, Palestine. Closest city to it, Jerusalem, 6 miles away.
I'm trying to be thoughtful with my word choice. I don't want my video to get shadow banned, so very early on in the video, I'm going to try not to say the name of this country, but we all know who I'm talking about.
Okay, let's assume.
Like I said, he was known for standing with that country, and so it was very surprising when 5 days after the October 7th attack, he said this during his visit to the PBD podcast.
So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress.
Why is that the case? Because it's surrounded by hostile neighbors.
Fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard-right government has a mandate. I gotta be careful the way I say this. They're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. Yep. I mean, I don't use that term lightly. Okay? But there are some serious questions here, Patrick. And let me tell you, my pattern recognition.
So that is where we get on the wrong side of that country.
Jesus, I will leave that for you to decide.
Over the last 5 years has become pretty sharp. COVID, Maui fires, Epstein. When I see a story and it doesn't click, our guts are usually right.
Charlie was one of the first, if not the first, high-profile conservative to point-blank ask this very provocative and reasonable question. And I think this was the first time the public got to see that Charlie's views on this country and this country's government was more nuanced than we previously thought.
What Charlie said were just words. That country were hurt more by this October 7th attack, more than Charlie's words.
Not too long after this, on October 23rd, he was texting with his longtime friend Candace Owens, and she has since shared these messages. Charlie, there are some verses in the Talmud that will blow your mind. Candace, I'm aware of them. Charlie, the Talmud is not biblical, but it's their rabbinical interpretations of Judaism. Shh. Candace, I did a deep dive 1 week. Charlie, thought crime. Candace, yep. So clearly Charlie's views on the subject are not as black and white as the public previously thought. And mind you, that text conversation took place just a few weeks after his appearance on the PBD podcast.
First thing first. Candace Owens nor Charlie Kirk, probably they have never read the Bible, because the biblical texts probably have the same things that they are so alarmed to find in the Talmud. Furthermore, I guess in Israel, they aren't Talmud apologists. That's all you need to straighten out any controversy in the Talmud. Just like how you have Christian apologists here in the United States. Straighten out any controversies that people think are in the biblical text. So I guess Israel need to come up to the time. Israel, you need to get some Talmud apologists. If that's what Candace and Charlie Kirk were so alarmed about things that are in the Talmud, they never read the Bible, I guess. Moreover, do we think that country has no religious tolerance, that they would have to get rid of anyone who disrespect the Talmud?
On May 2nd, 2025, Charlie Kirk allegedly sent a 7-page letter to the six-finger bandit Benjamin Netanyahu. According to Bibi and Andrew Colvett, the letter is authentic, and in the letter, Charlie warns Bibi that his country, Bibi's country, was losing support with Gen Z, and he gives recommendations to Bibi for how he can win the information war. After Charlie's death, this letter was used in an attempt to prove that Charlie's support for that country was unwavering and absolute. But
a country need unwavering support from one man.
Amazing.
2 days after this letter was allegedly sent to Bibi, Charlie tweeted this: "Tomorrow the House will vote on H.R. 867, a bill that will criminalize private boycotts of Israel, fines up to $1 million, and prison time up to 20 years.
Amazing.
No. Bills like this only create more anti-Semitism and play into growing narratives that Israel is running the US government. In America, you are allowed to hold differing views. You are allowed to disagree and protest. We've allowed far too many people who hate America move here from abroad, but the right to speak freely is the birthright of all Americans. This bill should not pass. Any Republican that votes for this bill will expose themselves. We will be watching very closely."
So that country is religious intolerant and political intolerant, really?
So clearly, Charlie didn't support this bill, despite supposedly writing that letter to Bibi Netanyahu about winning the information war on behalf of Israel. Just 2 days later, he's publicly tweeting that people should be allowed to disagree with Israel and should be allowed to boycott them. Something else that Charlie was openly against was America going to war with Iran.
Is going to war with Iran, is that a Charlie Kirk decision, or is that the president decision based upon information he received from the CIA?
This, of course, was something that Benjamin Netanyahu has been pushing for decades, along with many other neocons.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly.
Bibi could be wrong, but probably he realized that his country got to survive before he can do anything else.
In war with Iran.
Our MAGA base does not want a war. But what have we learned when it comes to wars, and especially wars in the Middle East? What you draw up on a whiteboard rarely happens. What you think theoretically is going to occur, there might be unintended and unforeseen consequences.
That is why Iran keeps trying to get nuclear weapons, even after the deal with President Obama.
Very clearly did not support war with Iran. Not only did he say this publicly, but on many occasions he was having these same conversations with Trump privately. And Charlie is someone who had proximity and influence on Trump.
Charlie Kirk is killed publicly in a very horrific way, and we're not really even allowed to look into that at all. And Charlie Kirk was one of President Trump's closest advisors, and he also advocated heavily against a war with Iran. He was in the Oval Office in the lead up to the 12-day war.
What happened?
And the last time I saw Charlie Kirk on this earth was in June in the West Wing in the stairway. And I said hi to him, and he looked me in the eye, and he said very loudly, and it's a small, you've been in the West Wing, it's small, it's a tight space. And he said, "Joe, stop us from getting into a war with Iran."
So it was a foregone conclusion.
So when one of President Trump's closest advisors, who is vocally advocating for us to not go to war with Iran and for us to rethink at least our relationship with the Israelis, and then he's suddenly publicly assassinated, and we're not allowed to ask any questions about that. It's a data point. It's a data point that we need to look into.
Given where we are today in 2026 with this nonsensical war that Trump is engaging in with Iran, despite everyone advising him against it.
It was a foregone conclusion. Niss Cee Social. Charlie was just trying to stop the war, and he failed. They can advise the president, but the final decision is with the president.
It's not hard to believe that getting someone like Charlie Kirk out the way would have been advantageous to one particular group of people representing one particular cause. Zionism. Do you hear something?
Did Charlie Kirk ever heard of the zionist? That they hunt down Nazi war criminals and bring them to justice, so to speak. So who was advising Charlie? If all this is true, and Charlie Kirk was one of President Trump's closest advisor, it seems that the advisor did need an advisor himself.
Obviously, that will sound crazy to many people, that something would have even considered such a thing. But I will say that after Charlie was killed, Benjamin Netanyahu very quickly denied responsibility for it. I was shocked by this. It did not seem natural.
So Charlie Kirk, this massively influential figure running this multi-million-dollar organization that is taking in money from Zionist donors, was saying things that they didn't like. He was pushing back on going to war with Iran, but he was also pushing back on the Israeli influence in America.
Given the Zionist reputation, Charlie Kirk was mopping up their money, and with money comes influence. And Charlie Kirk never seen this. Are we going to believe that? That the man who gave President Trump great advice not to go in a war with Iran couldn't see that the Zionist, anyone, would betray him, allegedly?
Feel, and I cannot say for sure, but I feel that something was watching and it felt the clock ticking and its opportunity to finally bring about this war, which I think Netanyahu said he's been dreaming of for 40 years.
He did say that.
So something wanted this war to happen, and there was the perception that the opportunity, the window was closing, so it had to be brought about quickly. Given how public Charlie was on this topic, I can't help but wonder.
Everything that BB had in his dream got to come true. I wish that was for everyone.
He did this by not only expressing criticisms of Israel's foreign policy when it came to Iran, but he repeatedly platformed individuals who were critical of Israel and questioned Epstein's ties to Mossad. Take, for example, on July 12, 2025, when he invited Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly to be guest speakers at his TPUSA event in Tampa, and they said this.
He wasn't one of ours.
So he was an American, which leads basically three options: MI6, Saudi, or Mossad.
I bet you she's going to say Mossad.
Yep.
Which one would you choose?
I guess Mossad, given his connection to Ghislaine Maxwell.
So what does that mean?
Well, I mean, it's possible that that's the reason everything's getting buried, that there is some treasure trove, and it's getting buried because...
How many people here believe that? Raise your hand. Okay, I'd say about half the hands think that it's being buried because of an Israeli thing. Interest of time, let's get to the boring stuff first.
Okay.
Do you have any opinion on the Epstein situation?
You know, I'll be honest, I'm with Ben Shapiro.
So he is a Mossad, and the Mossad or the Zionists are the same. They run the US government, and yet this guy still went to jail in Florida. What are they running if the chief guy in the US went to jail more than one time?
A criminal enterprise in our country, which it seems like they were, then you should answer the question, and no American citizen should be embarrassed to ask that. It doesn't make you a hater or a wacko. There are some people, I think, administration who are like, yeah, really, Jeffrey Epstein, like, is that the biggest thing going on in the world right now? And I think they sort of missed, not all, but some, that it's a metaphor for everything. It's like, how do all these people get so rich in the first place? Not just Jeffrey Epstein, but like, how did Bill Ackman get so rich? Is he really like a market genius?
Well, to their credit, he did went to prison.
Not.
At the same event, some woman who spells her own name wrong, Michelle Bachmann. I know her name is Michelle, but because she only spells her name with one L, I'm going to call her Michelle. Anyways, Michelle Bachmann also spoke at this event, and it didn't go well when she started lecturing to the audience about the need to support the little country in the Middle East. People booed her, and many people walked out of her speech. This obviously upset her, and it upset Charlie's Zionist donors. In particular, it upset this woman, Lori Cardoza, more.
The misspelling of her name has nothing to do with her. It is how her mom spelled the name. That's how she has to spell it. That's what it is on her birth certificate.
This woman, Lori Cardoza, more. Lori was so mad that she posted this video to TikTok.
With his mocking voice and his mocking laughter, they were horrified by what they saw. I had 3 couples reach out to me who had been to the Turning Point USA conference. And this was in Tampa a couple weeks ago. They called me and said they were horrified by what they saw. Horrified. They saw Tucker Carlson get up.
She's mad. So what?
And act like another crazy person talking, condemning Israel, praising Qatar with his mocking voice and his mocking laughter. So Tucker gets up and speaks at this conference in Tampa, TPUSA, and right after him comes Michelle Bachmann. Michelle has 5 minutes to make an argument for why we have to stand with Israel to these young people at TUSA. When she starts talking in that conference about supporting Israel, and
She is mad. She came swinging out for her friend, Michelle Batman.
and why America should stand with Israel, the people in the audience start booing her. I spoke with her personally. She said 10% in the room got up and walked out on her. That is shameful. Then Charlie Kirk. This is his event. He's responsible for what people are saying and doing. Does he get up and condemn Tucker or correct Tucker for what he said about Israel and how dangerous Qatar is?
Was she just venting because her friend got insulted, or she has an axe to grind?
No. Did Charlie get up and defend Michelle Bachmann? Did he condemn the people that got up and walked out on her and that booed her? Did he say why we stand with Israel, we support Israel? No, he didn't. That tells us everything we need to know.
So Lori wanted everyone to know that she was pissed
Why is she condemning Charlie? I think Charlie was the good guy.
directly. Candace Owens received a copy of texts that were sent to Charlie after that TPUSA event in Tampa, and internet sleuths have deduced that Lori Cordoza Moore is the author behind those texts.
Let's hear what juicy information is inside those texts.
I'm going to now read you an unhinged text message that Charlie received, this time from a female Christian donor. All of the people that trusted you, Jews and Christians, including me, why would you platform anti-Semites like Candace and Tucker? There are many evangelical Christian Zionists who would never give these people the opportunity to spew their hatred. I'm one of them. You say people are accusing you of being an anti-Semite because you disagree with the Israeli government. Well, what is it exactly that you disagree with?
Any juicy information yet?
You threatened Jews and Christians with your 30 million followers. Are you kidding? Be very careful, Charlie. You are in violation of the 9th commandment by bearing false witness against your brother Judah. When was the last time you read your Bible, Charlie? I'm coming to you as a believer. Genesis 12:3, Obadiah and many more prophets warned that those who curse Israel will be cursed. Your TPUSA Tampa event was a disaster. Michelle Bachmann was booed, and about 10% walked out on her when she talked about standing with Israel.
Was she mad because her friend get booed, or she was mad because her friend was invited by Charlie Kirk and she was disrespected and Charlie Kirk did not stand up and defend her? Or was it just she's mad because no one is standing with Israel?
We'll leave that for you to decide.
You brag about how you convinced all these young voters to vote for Trump, but you can't convince them to stand with our Jewish brethren. This is not a joke, Charlie. I'm coming to you as a sister in faith. You have accomplished so much by the hand of the Almighty, but he is going to lift his hand from you. Don't fall for Tucker, Candace, and the rest. The Jews are under attack. God warns us in the last days that he will wipe out the descendants of Edom because they stood by while their brothers, Jacob, Israel, was held in captivity and did nothing. Don't be counted among the Edomites.
She sounds like she's upset because she's a big fan of Charlie Kirk and probably a big donor too.
Will be to your peril, as well as the unfinished work God was going to do through you.
So we know that there were donors who were not happy with what happened that day.
Not have an Air Force capable of hitting us with anything. This is it.
But more happened. The next day, after Michelle got booed off stage, Charlie had more speakers. Josh Hammer did a debate against Dave Smith, and here is a little bit of how that went.
Is Israel an ally of the United States?
Yes, of course. No, but there's no reason why we even have to be enemies with Iran. They oppose no. This is a third world country in the Middle East that does not have nuclear weapons, does not have intercontinental ballistic missiles, does not.
A few moments later.
Earlier, UK's Defence Secretary said that Iran's retaliatory attacks included 2 ballistic missiles fired in the direction of Cyprus.
Israel's problem.
Do you think it would be bad if Iran got a nuclear bomb?
Yes, I think
Okay,
it's
good.
bad. I think it's bad.
And I think we can all agree on that. That is a moral
I don't
agreement.
think anybody should be allowed to have nuclear weapons secretly.
Right. And so,
how about that?
I will ask Josh about that, because that's a not so subtle dig at Israel. However,
Wait, hold on. Are you suggesting that Israel has nuclear weapons?
I don't know, actually. They probably do.
Yeah, you do.
I don't know the intelligence. I'm not that of DNI, but I mean, they probably do.
Because he thinks that no one should have nuclear weapons secretly. That doesn't make it a reality.
So Dave Smith was very critical of the Israeli government, very critical of wars in the Middle East, especially critical of war with Iran, and the audience was largely on his side. And it pissed off donors and Zionists that Charlie Kirk even allowed Dave Smith to speak at this event. But despite the backlash, Charlie Kirk continued to platform individuals who weren't fully in support of Israel.
Charlie Kirk has the right to platform who he wants on his events. So does the Zionist.
On July 25th, 2025, he published a video of a focus group he did with young conservatives, and here are a few moments from that video.
We're going to play a word association test. What's the first word that comes to mind when you hear Israel?
Judaism.
Aid.
Netanyahu.
Tax dollars.
Liability.
Sacred.
Tax dollars. Conflict. Complex. Controversial.
Scary.
Strategic. Mossad. So, Mossad, of all the different things that would come to mind, why does their intelligence service come to mind?
Reminds me of the CIA. You know, it has the CIA.
The Mossad captured the architect of the Holocaust, Adolf Eichmann. And after they did that, now they're hurt by the words of these kids on this panel here.
Amazing.
Words don't hurt anyone. If words hurt anyone, then anyone can brutalize me with words. Brutalize me.
Epstein files, if maybe Mossad was a part of things that we don't know about. And they're just like the Central Intelligence Agency, they are out there doing things that none of us know about.
That's why they're called a secret service. Common sense would tell you that we're not going to know until the files are declassified, not condoning them. That's the umbrella they work under.
You call everyone an anti-Semite if they don't take a puritanical view of the Netanyahu government, then I think it's bad for everybody.
Someone who is discriminating against a Jew, that is when it is anti-Semite, from my recollection.
So just to recap, in late spring and early summer, Charlie Kirk was aggressively advocating against war with Iran. He was urging Donald Trump to exercise restraint, and he did this publicly, and he did this privately in conversations with Trump. On June 22nd, 2025, Operation Midnight Hammer happens, also known as the 12-Day War. Israel bombs Iran. Trump also orders strikes on Iran from the US military. And once again, Charlie Kirk is one of the voices urging for it to not go any further. So
Trump didn't take Charlie Kirk's advice. The CIA, as I said before, provided the president with intelligence. That's what he works with, and make his decision after that. It's not what Charlie Kirk says, because Charlie Kirk decision is unconstrained. It is what he is thinking, not from a constrained vision.
Charlie to appear at the campus event in Utah was submitted in mid-July. Mind you, it wasn't announced officially until August, but the request was submitted in mid-July. A few weeks later, the head of the Utah FBI is then fired.
The FBI cannot fire anyone because Charlie Kirk is in town.
Interesting coincidence. Just to add more context for why this was noteworthy, she had been appointed during the Trump administration, so it's not like she was someone who was appointed under Biden and was a holdover. I bring this up because many FBI employees were fired at the request of Donald Trump as retribution for investigations that they had done that he didn't agree with. However, Maytab Sayed doesn't appear to be one of those people. No good reason or even bad reason has been given for why she was forced out.
Does the FBI have press conferences when a staff is fired?
She was forced out. This woman was qualified. She had been working for the FBI for over 2 decades, and by all accounts, she was great at her job. She has been described as legendary. She had experience in cyber terrorism, counterterrorism, she had experience with intelligence agencies, and more. So she was very much qualified to have her job, and it makes you wonder if that is the reason that she was forced out, because she was too qualified and because she was going to do her job properly.
It's the FBI, for heaven's sake. They can get the best talent around.
So August 5th, Maytab is forced out of the FBI, and a week later, on August 13th, Harrison Smith from InfoWars posted this tweet. I'm not gonna name names, but I was told by someone close to Charlie Kirk that Charlie thinks Israel will kill him if he turns against them. So on August 13th, Harrison Smith made that tweet, and now I want to fast forward to August 27th, because August 27th is also a very important date in the timeline. Number one, August 27th was the date that the Utah Valley event was.
Charlie Kirk never tell this to his best friend, or one of his best friend, Kash Pattel, the FBI director.
Officially announced. Something else that happened that same day was this FARA agreement was drafted. For those of you who are not familiar with FARA, it stands for the Foreign Agents Registration Act, and the simplest explanation is that this is a US law that requires people or organizations working on behalf of a foreign government or group in the US to disclose what they are doing. And on August 27th, we see that a FARA agreement was drafted, and this document has some very interesting coincidences.
Okay, give us the information.
So like I said, August 27th was the day that this agreement was drafted. It's also the same day that the Utah Valley event was announced. This document was signed on September 8th, 2025. And this was the same day that Charlie Kirk was in the group chat saying that he had no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And the document was filed on September 18th. And that is the same day that Erica was announced as the new CEO of TP USA.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, what is the controversy here? Who gave her that position? It got to be Charlie Kirk.
This document does conveniently or inconveniently have plenty of dates that line up. And what's noteworthy is that this document was signed by Brad Parscale, disclosing that he was representing Israel's interests to Gen Z on behalf of the State of Israel. And Brad Parscale was the Chief Strategy Officer at Salem Media, and he also previously worked on the Trump campaign. But Brad Parscale, like I said, was the Chief Strategy Officer for Salem Media, and Salem Media was the distributor for the Charlie Kirk show. So
what?
For the Charlie Kirk show. So it could be coincidence that BB offers Charlie money and Charlie says
nah.
And shortly after this agreement was drawn up. It could also be a coincidence that all of those dates lined up, and Brad Parscale taking money from that pesky government overseas to do Hasbara is just completely unrelated. It is very possible that this is all a big coincidence. I just noticed it, and I wanted to share it with you guys. On September 2nd, the new head of the Salt Lake City FBI starts his job, and we all know how that's been going so far.
What if the investigation is completed? There is nothing more to unearth.
We were stopped from continuing to investigate. And the FBI will say that they stopped that because they wanted to have turn everything over to the Utah state authorities. Everything's going to trial. It's very, very sensitive. But there was still a lot for us to look into that I can't really get into. But there was still linkage for us to investigate that we needed to run down. And I'm not making any conclusions. I'm not saying
no, I don't think you are.
Because of this happened. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there's unanswered questions.
Something else that happened on September 2nd was this.
Well, he won't be able to do that now since he resigned.
Internal memo was circulated at TPUSA. Charlie Kirk was letting everybody know that he was doing a Doge-style audit of the TPUSA financials.
He's doing a financial audit on his own company, and that country allegedly got to take him out. Does that make any sense?
The truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question, that maybe we shouldn't believe everything the media says because...
And the next day, Charlie was killed under questionable circumstances.
That was fast. They didn't waste any time.
And at the memorial, Tucker Carlson, someone who was very good friends with Charlie, shared this message.
And it actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it, and they just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do?
The Jesus-Charlie Kirk comparison. Jesus was talking about the people in power, while Charlie was talking about the people in power too, but also taking donations from the people in power too. Coincident? Yes, indeed.
About this guy telling the truth about us. We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I could just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem.
After watching this video, I'm sure you have figured out my theory on what really happened to Charlie. I think he created enemies, and it wasn't furries. There were people who didn't want him in Trump's ear, and I believe...
But who are they? And don't give me it's a country. That's all for today, folks. Hope she cleared up everything, and we are seeing everything clearly now. Thank you for watching, and do remember to like, share, and subscribe, and see you in the next one.